Stay tuned. The show is about to begin.
What's up, Heather? What's up, Fireside? What's up, YouTube? What's up, What Are You Made Of show supporters? It's your boy C-roc. I'm in the house today. I cannot wait to interview Heather. Heather Hakes is in the building. Heather, you just have to turn your video on. It should be a button at the bottom. There we go. There we go. What's up, Heather?
Hey there.
How you doing?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for spending time with us. We appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward. This show is all about the ingredients that have gone into making my guests who they are. It's called What Are You Made Of? And I'm going to read your bio here and introduce you to everybody. I apologize for the noise. I'm outside because, like when the weather's good, I just want to be out in nature and sit by the pool. So I do the show from here sometimes. And but there's this one damn bug that keeps making all this noise. And I don't know what kind of bug it is. Maybe a cicada or one of those kind of bugs. And so you may hear it in the background, but he's just saying hello to us. He's part of the show. He's like my co-host. So anyway, we're live on YouTube here as well. Heather, I don't know if you knew that. And after the show, if you'd like, you can grab the content from there or forward people to Mike C-roc, Sirocco. If you guys are on Fireside watching this, all the shows now are going up onto YouTube as of last week. So we're excited about that. Heather, let me introduce you, and then we're going to ask you the question, what are you made of? Okay.
All right.
So, guys, Heather Hakes is a mindset coach, speaker, and author of Take the Leap. She has been featured on numerous podcasts and published in many magazines like Authority Magazine, Thrive Global, and many more. She's reached tens of thousands through her international podcast, Mind Over Matter, which we'll get into later. And she also specializes in helping others get out of their own way by awakening their infinite potential to create their ideal life. She's studied under Tony Robbins, Gabby Bernstein, Joe Dispenza, Abraham Hicks, and Bob Proctor even. And listen, this is right up my alley, Heather. So, you've made money by doing this. You quit your corporate job. I want to hear about all of that, but we're going to go deeper than that if you're okay. So on this show, all right, cool. Because I want to get real vulnerable and transparent. That's the way I am, and I hope my guests are the same way for the most part, because I think that's the way we can help most people. So let's start this show off the right way, Heather. What are you made of?
That's such a vague question. I guess for me, I realized I actually interviewed somebody on my podcast last week, and a lot of people talk about the top 3%, and the difference between a Jeff Bezos and you, I believe, is mindset. So even for myself, the only thing that sets me apart from any other person is mindset. I eat, breathe, live it. Like a Tony Robbins would teach, it's all about full immersion. But I constantly challenge myself, put myself in uncomfortable situations because I'm here to live my best life.
Yeah. So what does mindset mean to you?
Well, really, if to break it down, your mindset is your perspective. It's your worldview. It's the ability to overcome adversity and be resilient. Or many people are stuck living more in that victim mentality, woe is me, autopilot.
Yeah. I love it. All right. So where are you located, by the way? What part of the world?
I'm in Denver.
Denver, Colorado. Mile High Stadium, Denver Broncos, not doing too good right now after the first week. Are you a Broncos fan?
Yeah. Die hard, but it's just the first week. The Lions beat the Chiefs, so.
I'm a football fan in general. I was born an Eagles fan, I say. You don't really get to choose a lot of times your football team. But I watch it all, and I'm watching what Sean Payton's doing out there, and I love Sean Payton. I'm a Sean Payton fan. So hopefully that works out for Denver, and maybe they'll play the Eagles in the Super Bowl, because that's who's going to be in the Super Bowl in the NFC. So, so Heather, let me go back a little ways, because most of us that dive into personal development and then do this for a living and really are obsessed with it came from maybe tough childhoods, tough upbringings. We've hit rock bottom at some point. Something's happened for the most part. I'm not going to say all people that dive into personal development, but obviously that is a common thing. And I'd like to know from you, take us back as far back as you want. What was life like as a kid, and what kind of stuff did you have to deal with and go through and survive through?
So for me, a little bit different. Mine was I don't come from a bad childhood. I actually am extremely grateful. My mom is a mentor she started her own personal development journey when I was young. So I am so grateful. I was like, this was just part of my lifestyle. It was part of my upbringing. I remember in elementary school, I watched Oprah. I started a gratitude practice when I was 8 years old. But I guess for me, my wake up call, my rock bottom was when I hit 30 and I had everything we're conditioned to believe will bring us happiness. Climbed the corporate ladder, engaged to be married. We just bought a house. I was traveling the world and I was not happy. And so my wake up call was walking away from that engagement 2 months before the wedding, kind of realizing like I'm going through life's motions, cheering on Friday, dreading Monday, week in and week out. Like, what am I doing? And so for me, it was a realization that the American dream wasn't my dream. And my dream as a little girl to be a teacher came about in this way that I never expected.
So you walked away from an engagement 2 months prior to the wedding. Whew. So, wow. How long were you engaged prior to that?
We were together a year. And practically we went through a divorce. We bought a house, we bought a boat, and so we had a bunch of legal things to deal with without getting. And look, he's not a bad guy. I just realized it wasn't the guy for me.
Right, right. Well, luckily you made the decision and pulled that, because a lot of people are too afraid once they get past a certain point, and then they go
Yeah.
into that and they have kids and then just fall into it, which is very important. That's why I wanted to go a little deeper with that, not to bring up old stuff, but more importantly for people out there that might be watching that are in situations that like that, and then they proceed to have kids because they feel like they don't have permission to change their mind. Can you talk to me about your
Yeah.
thoughts on permission to change?
Well, I believe, a lot of people wait for January 1st or next week or next month for a fresh start. But I literally posted on social yesterday that, a new place, a fresh start is not a new place. A fresh start is a new perspective, a new mindset. And even I had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine last week. She's been with this guy for, I'd say, about 5.5 years. They have a 2-year old. And she's like, well, if I were to start over, I would definitely want someone more aligned spiritually. And I'm like, you're not dead, and you can make new decisions anytime you choose. Many of my coaching clients are going through the motions in a miserable relationship for the kids. But now you're teaching your children toxic relationships and toxic environments is love. So, yeah, it takes courage to get out of your comfort zone. It takes courage to start over and let go of judgment but like, this is your life. Make it what you want.
Yeah, and how many people come to you that are when they come to you, they say their problems are, oh, it's so and so. I wish so and so was different, or if so and so did this or acted like this, then and they don't talk about themselves at all, except for what they don't like and what this and that. So how often are you seeing that?
It's so easy to point the finger, but here's what I love, and I saw or heard this years ago. Anytime you're pointing the finger, how many are pointing back at you? 3. And so I have found that life is projection, right? Whatever we are thinking internally is projected externally. So if you're finding fault in others, it's something you don't like about yourself. And that's kind of a humble pill to swallow, but that's the truth. And that's how you take your power back.
Yeah, when I was young, I heard that thing about this, so I started pointing at people like this.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I didn't change. I didn't look internally. I just started pointing all my fingers outwards. No, no, but I love it. So tell me about, like, as you were growing up and into like that corporate job, and you're working this corporate job. How did you turn the corner on that and make a change with the corporate thing and going out and being an entrepreneur? Can you take us through
Oh
that
gosh.
process?
Yes, for sure. And I, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I call it personal development on steroids. Because like in a corporate job, you can kind of dick around and still get paid. Entrepreneurship, you can work your ass off and you may not get paid. But for me, I'd done the corporate thing for over 10 years. I worked in many different industries and roles, and I was making good. Look, I had a posh life, making good money, but it was this intuitive nudge. I felt dead inside. Like I was literally going through life's motions. Every morning I'd wake up, hit the snooze button at least twice, and I just, for me, that was like I'm meant for more. There was this knowing. So I simply followed an intuitive nudge. I had no plan, a lot of fear to leave a stable corporate job and a paycheck, but I did it. Jump and let the net appear. I gave my notice, and the next day, so this is where you take inspired action and let the universe has your back. But I experienced this. I quit. The next day I found out the company had IPO'd a month prior, so it went public. I was in oil and gas, and I ended up receiving a six-figure payout. Now, I didn't know that was happening before I quit, but I jumped and the net appeared. And I am not an anomaly. I've heard many stories of this from a lot of other people that also followed that nudge. So here's what I want to offer people. If you have that nudge, that inkling, that feeling like you're dreading life, going through the motions, there's a better path for you. You got to follow the nudge.
So how did you still get the 100,000 after you quit? Like that, were you like just making the cutoff, or how did that work?
So, yeah, I think, well, yeah, as long as you were employed. So I quit. My last day was like June 2nd, and I was employed as of the IPO. Now, I didn't find this
Okay.
out till a week after, end of May. It was 175 grand. Some of that was cash up front. The other was stock. I had to wait for 2 years. But still, like there was
Yeah,
money in
but
the bank.
yeah, but imagine if you quit and then you found out like the next day that everybody that's still there gets 175,000. Oh my gosh. That,
Yeah.
yeah, good thing that didn't happen. All right.
Yeah.
So then from there, like when you went on that, you had a safety net, but still, safety nets run out, right? So you had in your
They
mind,
did.
like, I got to start generating revenue. So take us through
Yeah.
that process. Cause I've done, I don't know, maybe 7 startups now, 7 or 8. I know what it's like to start from scratch. I've built startups, 2 of them to 8 figures. I've also
Yeah.
had some shit to bed and just not, I don't even want to talk about them kind of thing, except for the lessons. But what went through your mind as you were going through this, and how did you like start to realize, okay, shit, I got to get some money, and how did you start to create your offer?
So I'd say I'm still on that journey. Like I'm still figuring things out years down the road. But I took those first about 2.5 years since I had a cushion and I had an Airbnb property, which was sweet. It was supplementing my income, paying my mortgage, and some of my travel expenses. So that was smart. I'm really glad I had that in place. And I still have the Airbnb today. So it's just easy income. But anyway, I took like 2.5 years as my own eat, pray, love journey, is what I called it. I went to Bali and I got yoga certified. I lived in San Diego and taught paddleboard yoga. I wrote my book. And then all of that turned into, oh, well, I could turn this into coaching. And then I was using my social media platforms. I started with Facebook, my network and community, started coaching there. And it was just like I kept learning as I was going. And so what I figured out with me, a growth mindset, like I've built that. I jump in feet first and I figure it out as I go. Where a lot of people are sitting there waiting to get all their ducks in a row, and you're not. Your ducks will never all be in a row. You've got to get started. So I remember I started my first coaching package, $500 to work with me, 4 sessions. Like that's a bargain. And I've been studying personal development for more than 20 years. I now my fees are much more than that, but I provide a whole lot more. I have loads of testimonials and like I've created better programs, but I just kept going. Did I answer?
Yeah, you answered my question. And so, like, okay, so I have so many questions on these different things. Let's start with this. So, as you go right now in your business, right? What are your offerings right now? Is it one-on-one, group, masterminds? Like, what do you have right now that you offer? And then I have a question about that.
Okay, so I've dabbled in different things, group. I did a monthly membership and now I'm all in. I really like the one-on-one and I'm also open. I've done some corporate speaking, but currently mainly
Okay,
one-on-one.
gotcha. And if you had it everything your way, and I could snap my finger just like this, and you could have it perfect, what would it look like? Can you paint that picture for us?
Ultimately, so I could reach a broader audience, and focus solely on content creation, it would just to grow and blow up a YouTube channel.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that. And the reason I ask these things is I love to know people's visions, and like I'm a future causer and creator. And I think that's one of the most attractive things you can be, is someone that causes and create futures for people. And a lot of times I ask that question and some people have no clue how to answer that. They're like, I didn't even think about that, or I don't know. And most of America's walking around like that with no hope and no vision. And so, you know what, like you studied Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins and all that. Like one of the things that I picked up from them and I learned from my experiences is that what we set our intention is, which I just asked you, what's your intention, right? Is then what we pay attention to. And then what we pay attention to is starts to create in our universe. And we actually can create our universe by setting the intention first. Then it directs our attention. And so I love that you're doing that. And I just also love to help people. So when I ask those kind of questions, my network has expanded massively over the last 4 years. I have so many connections to be able to I'm like a quarterback, throw it here, throw it here, throw it here. So I love that. And so right now, with all the mentors that you've studied and the personal development that you've done, who, first of all, is your favorite out of all of them?
Hands down, Dispenza. Hands down. Yeah.
And why is that?
For me, I've studied Dispenza for the last 3.5 years. I've attended his week-long 3 AFUs. Like I am fully immersed in his work. And the reason I love it, it's the most tangible, practical. Anyone can apply it to their life. He gives you, like I'm left brain, but I'm also super creative. So he feeds my left brain the science, the logic, understanding why we do what we do. But it's a very simple, easy process. You touched on it. Clear intention, elevated emotion. You got to know where you're going and feel it, and then let the how and the when come to you. And I've experienced this many times. So 100%.
And many people let the lack of the how knowledge stop them. And it's crazy because you don't, it's impossible to know the how, or you'd already done it, probably. So yeah, the information is always there. Once you commit, it starts to come. And you just have to also relax a little bit, because so many people are uptight when they decide what they want. They get uptight because they're like, I don't know how to do this and I want it now. And they're impatient, and that kills it, man. That slows you down and pulls you back. And if you just get what you want, like you said, feel it, and then just relax. There's meditation there too, isn't there?
Oh yeah, that's a huge part of it. But what you're touching on is most people in that scenario are what I call manic manifesting. You're white knuckling, tight grip, controlling, and it's very fear-based, trying to make something happen, which means you don't trust. And when you're attached to the how, you're so narrow-minded and focused, and you're not allowing the ease of it to unfold. Like if you really truly, Florence Scovel Shinn wrote a book, Game of Life and How to Play It. If you really understand that this is a game, I love how Bruce Lipton says The Matrix it's not a documentary, or he said it's not a sci-fi, it's a documentary. If you understand the quantum physics and all the science and the energy behind this human experience, it becomes a big game experiment. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and with that being said, did you grow up in a religious family at all, a spiritual family?
I do not have a religious backing, thank God, so I don't have to overcome all that guilt and shame and stuff that teaches. But I mean, I'm very spiritual. I believe in the universe, a higher power, but I'm not religious.
Yeah, gotcha. Because I was always curious, when people start studying quantum physics and neuroscience and Dispenza, all this, how that relates to their thoughts on spirituality. And what I found, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is I found that spirituality has now been connected and validated via science through quantum physics, quantum resonance, and neuroscience, because it proves there's an energy there. And to me, that energy and the frequency is your spirit. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and how that relates to, because you taught yoga, you do meditation, there's spirituality there, right? What are your thoughts on how that all?
Yeah. Yep, totally on board, and I agree with you. So, an infamous quote I love by Tesla, he said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. And that's what, like, very high level, because I think this stuff should be tangible and digestible. Quantum physics is just teaching us that, like my podcast, mind over matter, when you understand. So what they talk about, the quantum field, I like to think of it as an Excel spreadsheet. Anybody in business understands Excel, right? Excel goes on for infinity. And if you think of the X and Y axis, each point as a quote potential, a relationship, a dollar amount, health, and experience, everything's a potential or has an X and Y axis on that Excel spreadsheet quantum field. Your only job is to match that energy, frequency, vibration. Abraham Hicks explains this as tuning to a radio station. So think about it like this. If I'm tuned to, here in Denver, 93.3 is kind of like hard rock. Let's call it hard rock. If I'm tuned to 93.3, but I really want today's hits at 95.7, you tune the dial. You raise your frequency, energy, vibration, and you change your focus. That's it. Does that make sense?
Of course, 100%. Love it. Love it. And most people don't understand it, or they think it's woo-woo, so they never get the concept of it. And then they live this life of someone else tuning the radio station for them, right? So now when you study different mentors, go ahead.
I was just going to say, look, we're not taught any of this. And so that's why people, if you really want to get into that, we're very much conditioned and programmed to be a cog in the wheel. And the reason the personal development self-help industry is growing monumentally is because that innate knowing that you're not, a box, like you're not just here to be a cog in a wheel to work until you're 65 and then retire in the good life. An innate knowing you're meant for more, like we're naturally abundant and free. I think that is what's pushing people to go seek the knowledge that we're not taught. So we have to seek this knowledge. And if you just live, I call it living from a state of curiosity. I'm very open-minded and I don't believe I'm right. I think that's very arrogant to think you're right. I'm curious, I'm open-minded. But I'm logical. So give me a process and let me test it. And that's why I love quantum physics. Go experiment with this stuff. If you think it's a woo-woo, get out of your own way and go test it.
Yeah. Now, when we have so many mentors that we're studying as we're going through personal development, a lot of times, and I'm going to get your thoughts on this because I've been doing this for a while now too. And when I first started, I would use a lot of people's information, and eventually I started feeling like I was only using my mentor's content, so to speak. And I talked to Tim Story about this one time, and I interviewed him, and then I was talking to him offline. I said, Tim, I feel like all the stuff that I know is from stuff I've been studying recently, and then when I share it with others, because I want to share it because I know it works, I feel like I'm just being like a little version of that person or those people. And he said, stick with it, and eventually you'll have your experiences, and eventually you're going to cultivate and curate your own content that is C-roc, that is off of what you do and who you are. And so I went through that phase, and eventually it did. It came to about where it's like, I have my own IP now, right? Did you go through that, or are you currently going through that phase at all as you went through personal development and you have a podcast and you're coaching and putting content out? Did you go through a phase where you felt like you were just like regurgitating a lot of the mentor's information?
Well, sure. And that's the thing. Like, nobody is sharing anything new. Napoleon Hill, one of the OGs that we have written documentation from, and Neville Goddard and Wallace D. Wattles, those guys from the early 1900s, the things that we're talking about today is nothing new. But yeah, for me, like, I take what resonates and I leave the rest. Tony Robbins, part of my journey, but now I found that is very high level surface. People are chasing that high and not getting the sustainable, life-changing work like Dispenza teaches. So my whole thing is, take what resonates, leave leave the rest. But Abraham Hicks, I've been studying probably like 15 plus years. The stuff Abe teaches is also very science-based. Dispenza, and I also find the commonalities. I'm like, okay, everybody's saying the same thing in a little bit different lens, And yes, now I have to speak it from my lens, my perspective, my truth, and whoever resonates with that will connect.
I was pushing mute to make sure the bugs and the birds weren't interrupting you. By the way, you're awesome, and I love what you're saying. And more people need to hear from you, Heather. Just so you know, I want to encourage you on that. On the podcast side of things, how long have you had your podcast, and what are your thoughts on having a podcast and then being on podcasts as well? What has it done for you, for your business, yourself? Because there's a journey that I've been on in podcasting, which I'll share later, that it's like transformative. But I would love to hear your thoughts on having a show and then going on other shows and what it's done for you and your business.
For me, podcasting, it's almost selfish. I love doing it. I've gotten to connect with guests literally from all over the world. Doing the interviews, doing the work, creating the content is keeping me fully immersed, practicing it. So it's part of who I am. It's my lifestyle. I started mine December of 2017, so almost 6 years. Tomorrow's episode is 547, but I've stayed consistent, 2 episodes a week. But I also love doing it. So if somebody's doing it because they think they need to, that's not your platform. Go do the thing that brings you joy. So if it's video content, go blow up YouTube. If it's short form, maybe TikTok's your jam. Like, do what brings you joy. Don't do something because you think it's going to make you money.
Awesome. So where do we go from here? Like if I know obviously you want to do this YouTube thing, which I'm going to help you with. By the way, I have some information for you. I just had a call actually right before the show with some fellas because I've been exploring putting some rocket fuel into my stuff too. But where do we go from here? Not just in your business and all that and YouTube and all that, but like, I don't even know how old you are. I don't want to ask that question to a lady, but like you got a long life ahead of you, God willing. What's that?
I don't mind. I'm 38. I have no shame in my game.
Okay. So you got 38. God willing, you have a long life ahead of you. Is it family? Is it only career? Like what's ahead for Heather?
Yeah, I love what I do. I'm creating life on my terms and I can work from anywhere. And yes, the next step is that long-term partnership, and I'm currently with someone, and then I do want to make babies. That is something I want to experience. And the big thing is I just want to continue. My whole thing is, and I found this, I have one of those daily rip-off calendars, and one that I ripped off and I've kept for years on my cork board is to be a lighthouse for others. So whatever platform, whatever avenue that may be, kind of like quantum physics would teach me, get clear on having that exposure, that influence, the ability to empower and inspire others. I don't exactly know what that looks like, and that's what excites me. I have a second book in the works, so I'm just going to keep trucking.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining us here today on the What Are You Made Of show. We're going to wrap this up. I have your number here. I'm going to give you a follow-up call for 5 minutes real quick after we're done because I just want to touch on something with you offline. But I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for like spending the time with us and being vulnerable and transparent and sharing some of that stuff. We'd love to hear more from you. Where's the best place for people to engage with you further besides the podcast?
I would start on my website. I have tons of free resources, but just heatherhakes.com. Take the life assessment. If you're seeking clarity and a vision, like we talked about, you need to have that. And you can connect with me on all socials there. And if you're interested in coaching, I offer a free call.
Let's go, guys. Let's go. Go check out Heather Hakes. It's your boy C-Roc here on the What Are You Made Of show on Fireside and live on